World War II, and what he perceives as their lack of accepting responsibility for their crimes. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering if you might discuss on Monday the Torah perspective on forgiveness as well as concepts of collective guilt. Thanks as ever, and looking for another great show. Okay, I would like to take a couple of minutes. If you want to first say anything on that?
Okay, so any Japanese person who did not partake in war crimes in World War II does not need to be forgiven. I mean, particularly Japanese who have been born after World War II, that they bear no collective responsibility for World War II. Only the individual who commits crimes bears any responsibility. And any individual who's committed crimes and is still alive and feels like he needs forgiveness, he can only obtain forgiveness from the people that he harmed. So I cannot forgive on behalf of those who are viciously and unjustly tortured by the Japanese in World War II. I do think that there is collective punishment. That's a basic Torah doctrine, that when, say, in the land of Israel, the level of evil rises to a certain extent, and the land will vomit people out. So I do think that nations can be held collectively responsible, even though not every single person in that nation can do evil. So if you're living in a community that is getting overrun by evil, you've either got to change things, or if you can't change things, you need to get out, because there's going to be retribution coming. And that's it.
Very nicely said on your point. Now I'm going to just talk about forgiveness. In Judaism, we have a concept that's called tshuva, right? And which means atonement. And the way it works is, I think we've spoken about this before, is that when someone does someone wrong, right? What happens is that the person is required to do tshuva, which means to atone for the harm that they did. When the person, like they say they're sorry and they're not going to do it again, and when we see that they don't do it again or whatever, then the person who they harmed should forgive them, right? That's how it works. However, there are some things a person's not required to ever forgive another person for. It says there's certain things that you're not required.
A woman ever makes fun of you for not being able to sustain an erection. After the Torah says you don't have to forget such a woman.
Well, there's certain things. Actually, it doesn't really list off all the things, but it's
kind of implicit, like Rashi.
It's kind of like, I guess it's called common sense. It's one of those common sense things, and I think it also depends on the individual, because something that bothers you might not bother me, and vice versa.
That wouldn't bother you?
Well, I would think, like, if you murdered, or somebody, that would, like, if you murdered somebody who was close to me, that would bother me more than, you just...
If I poke fun of you for not being able to sustain a woody.
Why would that be your business?
Well, maybe you're with my sister.
Can we move from that? Thank you for bringing us back to sex. Okay, I got to get myself water in a second. So what am I saying here? So I'm saying that there's an atonement, right? You have to atone for the harm that you did to somebody else, and then they should forgive you. They should under normal circumstance, but they're not required to. In fact, it says if you go to them and they don't forgive you, then you can go back to them for a total of 3 times. And if you say you're sorry to them 3 times and they don't forgive you, then you're never required to go back to them again. Okay? Now, they're never going to forgive you. You're just going to have to live with that, right? Mm-hmm. There are some things that you just don't have to forgive people for. Now, I see Levi as he's looking at this whole Australia-Japan business, right, as one of those things. You can't forgive him. I don't know. It's not for me to judge. I wasn't around during World War II. But let's say, like, he had relatives who were, and they... I kind of understand that would be the kind of a thing that you just don't forgive, because you don't feel like the perpetrators ever atoned for that. You don't feel like they ever apologized or came to them and tried to do reparations in any which way or showed remorse. And so you're not required, according to Torah, to forgive such people. Now, this is the big difference between Judaism. Well, there's a few differences. This is one of the main differences between Judaism and Christianity. This is where they go their separate paths. It's because in the Christianity world, it's like forgive and forget, and you forgive people who haven't even apologized. That is not the Jewish way. Jewish way is, if you forgive someone, especially you forgive someone who really harmed you and really bothered you, and they never even apologized, then you're taking away their opportunity to do tshuva. You're not doing them a favor by forgiving them. I forgive you. The guy or the woman didn't even apologize. It's a mitzvah, it's a great thing for their soul to go and do the work and apologize and humble themselves and be remorseful. You just took that opportunity away from them. There are people that I don't forgive for some of the things that they have viciously said towards me. Right? There are a few people in my life who did some really nasty things to me. People that have said horrible, nasty things to me have never done full tshuva, and I will never forgive them until they do. And I don't anticipate that they will ever do tshuva, and therefore I pray that they rot in hell. That's right, I pray that they rot in hell, right? Because they're going to die without ever having done tshuva, without ever having atoned for harming me, and the best thing I can hope for is that they get it in the other end because they didn't do it down here for me. So, that Judaism is not... Now, on the other hand, there's a thing called don't bear a grudge. You know about that? It's one of the 613s.
Yeah.
So don't bear a grudge is like, you took my hammer, right? And you didn't give it back. And then you come to me and you say, can I have a wrench?
Yeah.
And I say, Levi, you didn't even give me back my damn hammer. Why should I give you a wrench, right?
Exactly.
But the Torah says, nah, don't do that. Give him the wrench anyways, right? Right?
Yeah, there's one pasuk in Torah that says something like that. But I mean, Torah is not divorced from reality. So if you're dealing with someone who's chronically irresponsible, you don't have to keep giving away your hard-earned assets to someone who's just going to not return them.
Right. Oh, here's a good question. I like the guy who asked it. It's the Christian guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Henry.
Yeah. He asked, should we forgive the Germans? What's your opinion?
Well, those Germans who did not participate in the Holocaust need no forgiveness.
Sure.
Those Germans who did participate in the Holocaust can only be forgiven by those they harmed, who aren't around to forgive them. So it's not even really a question.
Okay, well, are you one of those people, let's say, who boycotts buying a...
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Germany's taken far more responsibility as a nation collectively. Like, they've done pretty much everything you would want a nation to do after committing a major crime, unlike the Japanese who ignore their World War II crimes.
Okay.
Germany has really come to terms. They do a lot of business with Israel. They've since World War II, Germany's done the right thing by the Jews and by Israel.
Okay.
So I'd had no problem buying German products.
Okay, I just want to let you know, for like the first time ever, the Lakewood Rav, your friend, and I are on the same page.
Wow.
Oh my God, I don't believe this. He writes, I refuse to buy a car, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I have always, right,
Yeah.
boycotted buying Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagens. Okay? I don't know about BMWs because I don't know who owns them or the story behind them. But here's the thing. Volkswagens was designed by who?
I don't know.
It was Hitler's car. One of Hitler's things was it's a Volkswagen. You know, it's a family car, and his idea was that every German could run a car, and it was like he signed off on it. It's like his product. I don't care that he's not alive today, right? I don't care that it's a corporation and who knows where the money goes, right? It doesn't matter to me. It's like a Hitler thing, and it should be dissolved. It bothers me that there are Volkswagens around today. That they should just change the name of them at least. You know, get them out of here. You know what I mean? It's like change the name, redesign it. Can we please? Because it's the memory. It keeps alive the memory of Hitler, and not in a good way. You know what I mean? It's like you know what I'm saying? Does this make sense at all? Mm-hmm. It's like, why do we want Hitler's invention shoved down our throat, and I have to... He's dead, and his handiwork is parked on my